What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Risk Valor. I'm your host, Alyssa, and today I have a very special guest, Kylie Blakely. So,
Hi.
Kylie, oh, sorry.
Oh,
I was going to give you a little intro, but yeah, I'm so excited to have her here. She is prepping for a competition. She's a certified personal trainer. You might recognize her from reality Club Fox Farmer Wants a Wife, season one. And I'm super stoked to hear everything she has to tell us and all the inspiration. She's also a huge advocate for veterans, and we're going to dive way deep into that too. One of my favorite parts about her. So without further ado, welcome, Kylie.
thank you so much for having me on. I'm really excited about this.
I know, I'm so excited. I'm like, another freaking blonde bombshell on here. Awesome. She's into
Heck yeah.
fitness. She's strong. I'm like, she's on, reality. She does all this cool stuff. So I'm so happy you agreed to come on here. So to start off, I don't even know where to start. There's so many different things about you that I want to like talk about. But I would say first off, with your bodybuilding journey, is this your first competition you're prepping for?
This is my first competition.
Are you super stoked?
I'm excited. I'm nervous. I'm feeling all the things right now.
Yeah.
Right now we're in the cutting phase. We haven't started a building block of anything yet. So
Yeah.
right now my coach, she's an IFBB pro, and we're trying to determine whether or not I fall within wellness or bikini, which is what we talked a little bit about last time I saw you.
Yeah, in Florida we did dive deep into that because I was like, oh my goodness, because I've done both now, and I'm like, it was drastically different, and I'm like, it all depends on your total package you can bring, because like you can shred all the way down, or you can. The thing is with wellness, you have to build so
Oh yeah.
much. So, but I'm like, she's got muscle on her, guys. So I'm just like, so either way you go, you're gonna freaking rock it.
Thank you. Got plenty of a ways to go for that for sure.
Yeah. So what kind of got you into the bodybuilding thing?
So I've been in the fitness industry since 2017. I started my journey at Orange Theory Fitness, where I worked for about 2 years. And then when Crunch first came to Central Florida, I came on board with them at the Lake Nona location, and I worked there for about almost 2 years as well. And then I started working in corporate with marketing, but fitness always had my heart. I found myself and I found my peace in the gym, and it's always been the biggest part of me that makes me happy. So I decided, you know what, why not take it to the next level? I'm a very competitive person by nature. So a lot of people within this wellness space, they tend to at some point in time compete in something, whether it's powerlifting, strongman, bodybuilding, and there's so many different divisions in bodybuilding. It's very diverse.
No, it definitely is. And I would say probably the reason why a lot of coaches or people in the wellness industry, like you said, compete at some point is because there's a mental toughness, a mental endurance aspect to it. And have you like dove into that? Like, because I know the meal thing for me, I was like, oh my God, that's probably the hardest part sometimes. Because getting in the gym, I'm like, you'll see me there. That's therapy to me. That's
Yeah.
church. But I'm like, what so far has been like the biggest challenge, or you foresee being the biggest challenge?
So far, again, coming from a competitive background, I used to be a swimmer. The
Oh.
meals aren't necessarily the hardest part. The
Mhm.
hardest part is the mental battle of it all. And that's what life is all about, is the mental battle. So right now I have the five more reps mentality, old
Yeah.
school bodybuilding style, and I eat the same thing every day. As boring as it sounds, it works.
Yeah.
And when it comes down to the results, I will gladly eat the same thing every single day for the rest of my life if I know that my body is getting the most output of the meals that I'm putting in it. So at this point, I don't even see food as fuel, which to me is a healthier mindset than what I had before. So I've struggled with dysmorphia for quite a long time. So this for me is a healing journey, and the journey isn't linear, but if it meant me getting stronger, or if it meant me getting leaner, I'll do whatever it takes.
I love that. And I love that you said, I'm already drawing a blank, but it's the fact that it's not linear. I love that. And it's like we're always evolving. And I know like when I first started getting just into fitness, period, I was like, oh, I had this mentality of like breakups make bodybuilders. Like that was my mentality at first.
It's so true, though.
It really is like I just want to like look better. And now it's to the point where it's like a part of me. But how it
Mm-hmm.
started for me was just like, I'm gonna look freaking banging and for the maybe the wrong reasons, but it turned into something I really loved.
Everybody starts somewhere, and that's something that I talked to one of my friends about, who's from Chicago. He is not looking at any shows right now, but he had his own weight loss journey, And when we were speaking about this, there's always one pivotal moment that leads you to the gym. And it is kind of in a way like church. There
Yeah.
is always something in somebody's journey that leads them to either church or the gym or both in some cases, myself included. And it could be a breakup. It could be rock bottom. It could
Hmm.
be addiction. It could be dysmorphia and eating disorder, bad home life. It could be a number of things, but I think the most common one is typically a breakup where you think to yourself, all right, I'm going to get a banging body. I'm going to look great for summer. I'm going to rock a bikini on
Yeah.
somebody's boat and you're going to boohoo in the corner. And then it just becomes you and it becomes what makes you happy. And when you have that addiction to the release of dopamine and endorphins, and the gym does that for you,
Oh yeah.
it does become addictive. Like, I'm going to have to say that the hardest part for me is taking those rest days sometimes when I know my body needs it. And especially in the bodybuilding prep, you can seriously hurt yourself and stunt your growth with muscle recovery if you're not recovering right. So, sleep and fuel, I think, are the most pivotal and overlooked two supplements, I'd like to say.
I think so too. And I also think people underrate stress and the cortisol that it raises in your body if you're just stressed out all the time. So if like your body's stressed because it's exhausted or stressed because of
Mm-hmm.
exterior things, it's like just taking that
Absolutely.
that rest day is so important. And that was something that killed me for a little bit because it was like balancing a job, being a single mom. And I was like, I'm gonna get on that stage no matter what. So I'm like, I'm gonna find a way to do it. And I'm like, I just need to freaking namaste and do all the
Mm-hmm.
woo-woo stuff. I'm like, I have to get somewhere. But I love that you said that because it's
Well, when
important.
you have high cortisol, and especially in women, your body will hold on to a lot of inflammation and water weight. So it
Hmm.
is very pivotal and something you definitely need to look into if you are a listener that's just now hearing about cortisol levels or hormones. I get my hormones checked every 3 months, and it's something that I recommend to my clients, and it's something that I even recommend to my friends and family. It's very important to stay on top of that as a woman.
Blood work and everything, especially with,
Mm-hmm.
food and supplements and people not knowing anything about supplements. The competition world involves drugs sometimes for some people. So it's
It
like just
does.
check your blood, do all the good things. Like, don't be afraid of doctors. There's doctors for that stuff. So like go to them. But speaking of like stress and different, avenues, I know how we were connected was through veteran contacts. And I know that you're a huge advocate, an aid, you could say, to veterans. So where did that start? What was the journey to the veteran side of the house?
It's a wild story. So, back in high school for senior skip day, I loaded up my Jeep with all my closest friends and we went to the recruiter's office, and that was our senior skip day. And I come from a military family, so
Mm-hmm.
it's always been kind of like a calling for me to serve. And I kid you not, with what I knew, I went to the Air Force, and then I went to the Naval office, and then I went to the Army, which was my last stop. And I tried and tried and tried to get in. So, for those of you who don't know, eczema is a determining factor of whether or not sometimes that you can pass military entrance processing or MEPS.
Wow.
And I had eczema as a young child. Now I outgrew it, and I had plenty of medical waivers and documentation saying that I no longer have eczema as an adult, which, for those of you who don't know, it's dry skin essentially. But I was deemed ineligible to serve, and I was devastated. All my friends were deploying. My friends were leaving town, joining the Marine Corps, joining the Navy, and here I was stuck in Osceola County. And I love my hometown, but I was ready for the next step.
Mm-hmm.
And I prayed on it. And that's my biggest advice to anybody is if you're struggling with something, pray on it. So I did, and I said, God, please show me what I need to do because this is what I want to do. And I've been trying so hard. But if this isn't what I'm meant to do, please show me. And about a week later, I won my first pageant, and I had never competed in a pageant before, and I had no idea what I was doing. I was completely lost, but I knew what I wanted to do. And God basically showed me what I could do with a title and a platform that I didn't have before.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt called to serve those who did serve rather than serve myself. So I felt that higher calling. And since 2019, that's all I've been doing. any free time that I get, I do try to give back to the veteran community.
I love that. And explain some of the stuff that you do, because we had a lunch in Fort Lauderdale and I was like, my mind was like freaking blown by the amount of things that you do. So like share with everyone like some examples of things that you do and the company that you work with too.
So I work with McCormick Research Institute. We've got about 20 years of TBI, CTE, and PTSD research under our belts. We work exclusively with veterans that have served in combat zones, veterans that are struggling with PTSD, with survivor's guilt. And it is such a beautiful thing when you see that breakthrough, when you see somebody come out of the other side of depression and come out of the other side of suicidal thoughts, and seeing them work with the horses. So, for those of you who don't know, equine therapy is very unique in the sense that if you're having a panic or an anxiety attack, your heart rate is sporadic. It feels like a heart attack, but the horse's heart rate is slow and calm because you're grooming them, you're talking to them, and it is a scientific anomaly and absolutely incredible to me that your heart rate as you're taking care of this animal will match the horse's heart rate. So it essentially calms you down and gets you through that group therapy session, which I've seen firsthand, and it's a beautiful thing. So Camp McCormick enrollment is coming up here pretty soon, so I'll be posting about it on my socials, but I work with them. I'm in their marketing team, but I also like to what I like to call freelance volunteer for organizations that I deem very worthy. So we met through Irreverent Warriors and we met through Angelo in South Florida. Irreverent Warriors is one of the first organizations I ever partnered with back in 2019. And it spoke to me. You know, I was up in Raleigh for a period of time. I got to go on all kinds of different hikes, and I'll be at the DC hike later this year. But seeing firsthand grown men hold each other and pray and talk about the things that they've been to, it broke me to see how broken our veterans were coming home. And working with organizations like Irreverent Warriors, Burn Pits 360, Sierra 22 Coffee Company, which is the official sponsor of Irreverent Warriors,
Yep.
and seeing that we have the funding and we have the means to send them to war, but where is the support system for when they come home? That's where I feel my calling, and that's where I feel my participation is very beneficial to the community, where they can't speak up and say something, somebody from the outside can see and speak up. So that's where I've got big shoes to fill, and I'm doing my best to do that.
No, and you're doing amazing things. And I
Thank
think
you.
as much as it seems like, oh, there's all these outlets and this and that, like if you just Google like veteran help, you're gonna be drawn to like government pages and all these other things that are just not the most helpful for some of these vets. Even me
Yeah.
trying to find a community, I had to find friends through social media to tell me about Irreverent Warriors, to tell me about other things, to find that camaraderie piece. Because when you exit the military and enter the civilian world, I didn't realize how big of a jump that was going to be. I didn't realize how hard it was going to be. It's just a different type of family when you're in, and then when you get out, it's a whole different world. And I think spreading awareness this way and talking about the different things that are out there, like even the therapy that you're talking about, I've never even heard of that until you were telling me, and I was like, that's insane, that's amazing, because a lot of times I've heard there's some doctors doing some great works with PTSD and other things like that. Others are just prescribing something, or oh, you need to be exposure therapy. That
Uh,
is something that honestly makes me mad, just because a lot of people don't want to relive that. You don't have to relive the darkest moments to be able to come through and see the light. I think maybe for some people, but some of those times, like resurfacing that is not maybe the first phase that I would go with. And I don't know if you agree or disagree, but
no, I agree completely. It's terrible. You know, to me, exposure therapy is no different than reopening a scar. The wound
Mhm.
is scabbed over, it's scarred over, it's healed. There's always going to be scar tissue, and that's fine.
Yeah,
That's a part of you now. You could still be you with a scar,
yeah.
but to reopen the wound, to scoop out the scar tissue and resuture it, to me is just redundant and painful, unnecessarily so. There's so many different avenues outside of the VA, and that's what I like to advocate for. You know, the VA has this pipeline to pump veterans through and get them in and that's something that I'm working with James Hammer Hartzell, who's uh, right now I think executive of Florida Department of Veterans Affairs.
Okay.
And he's a Marine Corps veteran himself, so he completely understands. And
Yeah.
that's something that we're working on together and through different communities and avenues. And something that I'm advocating for is to open up the VA to new avenues because no two people are the same. So why should their therapeutic process be the same?
I love that. And I guess I don't know. I just there's so many little businesses coming up or Angelo's starting his Barracks Legend thing, and it's everything is towards like supporting all these nonprofits, things that you never even heard of. And I'm like I love participating in all them and spreading awareness because I'm like I want to be a part of these and also spread the word because there's so many veterans who don't feel like there's a home for them or a place to go. And that's what I love about Irreverent Warriors is that they bond on like they're goofballs. If you meet these people, they are
They are.
loud, they are rowdy, they're having a good time, but it's like it's so good. Like you share the downs, but it's like the upside, you're like, oh my gosh, it's like mostly a boys club, but the girls that are there, it's like you feel like you're a part of it too. It's a good community, but it's
Irreverent
fun.
Warriors has always felt like home.
Yeah, I love that, and it's for everyone too. It's like it doesn't matter if you served or didn't serve. It's like if you're advocating for those people, that's all you want because it's especially with the kind of times we're living in, as you know, I can read
Mm-hmm.
between the lines. It's very hard to be against the grain or on the wrong side of things. It's like the reason we're able to enjoy these freedoms is there's people who sacrifice their lives for that or were
Absolutely.
willing to if it came to that. So it's wild to me. um did you have like so with what you're doing, I know you did a wreath ceremony too, right, at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier?
I did this past year, and then when I'm in DC on the 24th during that week leading up
Yeah,
to the hike, I'll be back in DC on the 23rd at 3:15 p.m. to lay a wreath in honor of my organization with McCormick. So McCormick will be laying a memorial wreath at Tomb of the Unknown Soldier at 3:15 p.m. on the 23rd of June.
I love that. Awesome. And so with like the mental health thing, it's like veterans with bodybuilding, with everything that you're doing, if you could tell the community of primarily women, but there's also men who listen to this too, what for your mindset has been like, is there something you live by? I know prayer is a big one. It's a big one for me too. Opening up those questions to God and like bringing it higher because sometimes we don't have the answers. We're not supposed to. He's, that's what he's
Yeah.
there for. But what else do you live by to get the strength of mind that you have?
I think what I do best outside of prayer is I think about what I've been through, and I've
Hmm.
lived a lot of life. And I think to myself in times where I feel like I can't go on, because everybody
Yeah,
has those moments.
absolutely.
If I can make it through that, I can make it through this. And when that's not enough, I give myself one more day. Just take it day by day. I get out of bed and I say, one more time, one more time, one more time. And I just keep at it. And the gym, it's almost parallel to life in a way where when you hit failure, when you hit rock bottom, when you hit that wall, and it feels like you've got nothing left to give, and
Hmm.
you can't push through, and you can't move, and your body feels like it's screaming, and you want to cry, because those moments happen in life and in the gym. When you hit failure, you've got 5 more reps. You've still got more in you. Your mind will quit long before your body will. And that's why I believe that I find a lot of veterans within the wellness space because they know that your mind will quit before your body does. And they know that past failure is where success is, and past failure is where champions are made. So they have that 5 more reps and that one more time mentality. So that's what I live by.
I love to hear that. I'm like, I just like, I got like goosebumps because I'm like, oh, she's like speaking to my soul right now.
Yeah, everybody has those moments.
Yeah.
Everybody has those days where you don't want to get out of bed, where everything hurts and you're
Hmm.
crying and you've hit the wall. You've hit rock bottom. You've hit failure.
Yeah.
You just got to push through. You've got 5 more reps.
You got five
Past
more reps.
failure is where champions are made.
Absolutely. I love that. And I know those feelings. It's like I've like collapsed on the kitchen floor, just like crying, like why? Like, like just not understand. Like you have those moments that no one sees but you and God.
Mhm.
It's just you two
Yeah.
in the room. And it's and it's heartbreaking because you're like, I know things can be worse. I know things can be better, and it's like you have those feelings. And even when I competed in bodybuilding, that was a huge game changer for me. Just seeing my body shift, I was like, my mind shifted with it. But I remember
Mm-hmm.
seeing my one thing was like, I want my son there. Like, I want him to see me. In my first competition, I didn't get shit, which was fine because I'm like, I got up there, I looked different than I ever did, and I was confident and I was so proud. And my son was just there, and I saw him in the crowd, just like waving, and he was like flexing, and it was
Oh,
literally the cutest thing. And he was 4 at the time. So that was like my first one. It was during COVID too, when the world was like,
oh
falling
wow.
apart. So if a lot of people have bodybuilding stories from COVID. I'm like, all of a sudden, like COVID actually brought, like 2020 was actually a very great year for me, which sounds so weird, but it was like it brought on this different, like, well, if it's the world's gonna end, might as well like make the most of
Yeah,
it type thing. So
absolutely.
I know. So I love that you said that because it is a 5 more reps thing. Like we were given the chance to be here another day. Like I made for more. I made for more. Like this isn't it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I love that. So what would you say now that we're like kind of bouncing back and forth, but people that are going through, like, maybe they want to do a competition, maybe they want to go start a business, they want to do something. What is your advice for people pursuing what they love? Because you love your job. A lot
I
of
do.
people don't love what they do, right? And they're stuck in it because there's that fear. There's fear of judgment, there's fear of not providing. There's so many fears. What would you suggest? What would be your advice to a friend or, someone else listening to this to pursue what sets them on fire?
Start with prayer.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I did. Start with prayer and find out if that is your calling. And if it's God telling you, hey, this is what you're meant to do, you're meant to help people. And once you get a foot in the door, once you get a taste for something better, you move past it and you grow from it. And it grows you into the person that I believe you are meant to be. So with that, you get to the next level, you get to where you're meant to be, and you start giving back to the community. So don't be afraid of those who are going to judge you for what your calling is, because no two people are the same. No
Mm-hmm.
two people are going to have the same calling. Some people it's a 9 to 5, some people it's cowboying, some people
Yeah.
it's the gym, some people it's starting a business, and some people it's becoming a mother and
Yep.
being a stay-at-home mom. No two callings are the same and no two people are the same, so you can't compare your journey to somebody else's.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's balance too. Like nothing's ever perfectly in scale. Something's always it's gonna be a give and a take everywhere. But I think balancing your passions and your hobbies, and I think that's something a lot of us maybe have experienced where you've put your hobbies aside or something that you really love doing because of either a
Mm-hmm.
significant other or a job took over your entire life that you can't have hobbies. I mean, mine was like significant other, I like lost all friends, all touch with people, even my
Yep.
family. And now it's like I've been on my own for 5 years and I've like re like grew those relationships again. It was like starting from
But
A.
sometimes I think that cutting those relationships off,
Hmm.
whether or not it's toxic to some people do say it's toxic,
Yeah.
I think it's for your greater good.
Yeah.
So the way I see it is people vibrate at different frequencies. You're going to have people that are super energetic and people that are what I like to call high vibrational, where they're praying and they're living a positive lifestyle and they try to do good for others. And then you have people that, when you're up here and you're on that podium, and let's say you win your competition, let's say you finish a race, and then you have people vibrating at lower frequencies and even lower frequencies, those people that judge you, the people that you feel the need to cut out of your life because they're dragging you down with their comments, they're dragging you down with their opinions, they're dragging you down with their lifestyle. Sometimes it's better for you to ascend by cutting off the negative in your life. And for me, that was my relationships before the show.
Hmm.
And, I feel like God puts people into your life for a reason, but He also lets you know when it's time to cut them loose. Sometimes people are put in your life for a lesson.
Yep. A lesson or a blessing is what they say,
Mm-hmm.
which I 100% agree. So do you integrate any kind of this like growth or mental training with when you train other people in fitness? Like, does that ever go hand in hand with your clients?
Yes,
It does.
absolutely. With my clients so far, it's been an online platform thing. I'm what they
Hmm.
know it as a PDF coach.
Oh,
So there's proof in the pudding.
yeah.
There's a formula, and what they do is I have them check in on Sundays and then I just see what their progress is looking like. For the most part, it's just weight loss. I've yet to have a competitor, but I've yet to compete myself. So I've got my NASM in physique and bodybuilding. I'm working with an IFBB pro coach myself. And even my coach as a pro has a coach. Every coach has a coach, just like
Yes.
how every therapist has a therapist.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, I'm just a PDF coach. Who knows what the future holds? I love what I do because my clients will email me, they'll text me, they'll DM me, whatever they're most comfortable with. And I get to see their progress from what I program for them. And there are adjustments that I make for certain people. I've worked with people who struggle with Hashimoto's. I've worked with people that struggle with, other autoimmune disorders, or they're gluten intolerant or they're lactose intolerant. We have to adjust those macronutrients. So I think it does go hand in hand because when I do my PDF coaching, it's just like, here's the formula, here you go. But if my clients ever need anything, they know I'm a phone call away. So I have had to have that talk with them and say, hey, you got to get up and get moving.
Mm-hmm.
You paid this money. You want these results. Nobody's going to do the work for you. There's no magic pill. There is
Mm-hmm.
no wish. You've got to do the hard work with it.
I love that. That's true. Cause I mean, with my coach, and I do believe every coach needs a coach or like at least can benefit from having one. Mine, I mean, he would get an earful. I actually paid because I wanted to have in-person training too. I'm like, my first competition, I did online coach. I looked phenomenal. This one, I was putting on more muscle and I was like, I want to lift with someone that I'm going to have someone in my ear telling me, you got one more in you. And then I saw that happen. I was like, holy crap, I really did have like 1, 2, 3 more in me. But I know he would get an earful on the mental part because that you get through. There was a certain point where I was like, wow, I was like mentally drained. Like I would still work my ass off, but I'm like, I'm going through this. This is what I'm going through. And he was just an ear. So I mean, coaches are so when they're
Mm-hmm.
well rounded and want to help all of you, not just one part of you, that's so beneficial. And they become friends. I love that about
Absolutely.
coaches.
My coach was there for me through my breakup because I'm
Mm-hmm.
a very private person.
Yeah.
So she was my person to lean on. And I told her, I'm like, I want to do the Arnold. I want to do the Arnold, and I don't just want to do the Arnold, I want to win.
Yeah.
I'm coming to win. And she's like, Kylie, you're not there yet. You haven't even done your first competition. I'm like, I don't care. I
Mm-hmm.
don't care if I take a year of prep. I don't care what I have to do. I don't care what I have to sacrifice. I'll do whatever it takes. Because there's nothing that fuels you more than spite, I like to say. So
It's
as
true.
as toxic as that sounds, there's nothing that fuels you more than that. And she was my ear in that time, and she was my person to lean on, and she was more than a coach during that time frame. She was somebody that not just I look up to, but somebody to lean on in that time. So she was there for me through that. And you're absolutely right. Your coach does become your friend.
Yeah. Coaches are awesome. Mine, I feel bad for him some days. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. But that guy texted me again and I told him to leave me alone. Like, what do I do? Texted him. I'm like, here we go again, Alyssa. Like you're just digging the hole. We're
She just
better
tells me to
now.
add on 5 pounds every time. She's like,
Yeah.
remove them from your life, add on 5 pounds,
Like
you're set.
out of your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Go boxing, do something to get the anger out. But tell us about that show. Let's get to the reality side of things, some of the interesting stuff. So
Oh, geez.
Farmer Wants a Wife. So what's it about? How did you get involved in this? How was it? Everything?
So I've got quite a social media following,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and I got this crazy DM one day saying, hey, would you like to find love with a farmer? And this was just after my breakup. And I'm like, well, what I've been picking has not been working. So let's give this a shot. And I come from a cow town,
Mm-hmm.
essentially.
Yeah.
So Osceola County is really big on cattle. Central Florida for a long, long time was big citrus cattle. And it's a dying breed. My family's been here since I don't know 1883 1884.
Wow.
We came from the Cherokee Reservation in Oklahoma, and we pioneered Osceola County. We have Bass Highway named after my family name. We are one of the originals. And I was always either A, too scared to date a cowboy because I heard all kinds of horror stories from my friends about
Yeah.
rough stock riders, or B, they were all my parents' age. There was none my age.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you know what? Let's give this a shot because what
Mm-hmm.
I've been choosing for myself hasn't been working. So let's just let somebody else decide. So they told me it was 4 farmers and 4 shots at love. So I get to the show and they fly me out to Nashville and I meet Landon. and he was so charming and so sweet, and I had such an amazing time on his farm. And for those of you who didn't watch the show, I made it. I hate to spoil it, but I made it just before hometowns, and I had
Hmm.
an absolutely amazing time. I made some of the closest friends I've ever had in my life, to the point where I could see these girls being my bridesmaids one day.
Wow.
And after the show came even more friends because I got closer with the girls from other farms. So, I feel really blessed. And I think I kind of needed that break from reality in reality
Yeah.
TV, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Because I got to go play cowboy for a couple months in Oklahoma. And we were fixing fence and we were feeding cattle. And I was just having the best time at this larger than life petting zoo, essentially.
That
And
sounds so
I loved
fun.
every second of it. So that was my time on Farmer on Fox. And I got to talk a little bit about what I do with veterans and the veteran community on 2 different episodes. So it really just rings true to my character and to the person that I aspire to be every day of my life. That I got to have this opportunity and I got to share what I'm passionate about. And I got to do that with all of America that was watching.
Yeah, that's so exciting. And I was like, that's so cool. How have I never heard of this show? And it's like, everyone watch it. Like, I love my good reality now that I know, like, you and I have another friend who was on a different show, which hopefully she comes on too. But I'm like, it's so exciting to hear like these different women, all the different stories, because everyone's so curious, like, what's it like in like, reality? Like, do they tell you what to say? Are you 100% yourself? Like, we would hope so, right? Like, that's
Yeah.
that's the answer. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's always somebody that plays a character,
Hmm.
and I feel like they do that out of the feeling that either A, they're not enough, or B, that they're going to get all kinds of deals out of being larger than life
Yeah.
personality. But, I went on the show to find love, and I didn't find that on my farm, but I found a bunch of friends. But my entire perspective on it was either Landon's going to like me for me, or he's going to be very disappointed when this is over and the real Kylie comes out. So I was me right from the rip, and
Yeah.
I'm cynical at times and I'm funny always, and I love to joke around and I love to have fun, and that's one of the things he said when he let me go is how nobody really gives shit like Kylie. So
Hey, I'll take it.
I love to poke fun. That's how I show my affection.
Yeah, no, I love that. And a lot of strong women do the same thing. It's like if you can't hang, then like you can't hang.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Like you're very secure in who you are. And that's what I love having the different women on here that like know who they are to the core. And yeah, they've been to hell and back. They've had to go through some shit. And it's like you
Mhm.
come out better. Like hell, your time, like whatever it was with the breakup, it's like has only flowered since. I mean, you're freaking blooming. You're
Oh,
glowing,
thank
you know?
you.
Like it's good. It's like it's exciting to watch. I'm a huge advocate for women and doing whatever the fuck they want to do with their life and living it. If you're 100% yourself and you love what you're doing and you love everything about your life, like that's amazing. That's great. Everyone should do that. So I'm always like picking the brains. What are the pieces that, other women can like, what can they take from every message that we can help build each other up? Because women are like, I'm glad you said you found like some female friends, and like I'm starting to build my female circle because I'm like, hell, we are just like not that nice to each other sometimes, as
No,
a whole. It's crazy. I mean, even through school, it's like, oh my God, like it's just so
it's
catty.
heartbreaking.
Every
But
movie.
what I find is, and this is just in my experience through
Hmm.
pageants and the show and competing and everything else, is those who say harmful things and things that hurt, it typically comes from a place of insecurity,
Yeah.
especially with women. Trust me, it comes from men too, but
Yeah.
especially with women. When they feel they need to attack, it's because they're addressing their own insecurity, and I call it projection and deflection.
Yep.
So I keep that in mind whenever I get mean comments or whenever somebody is being some type of way towards me. There's probably some deeper rooted, seated issue there, and that's their struggle, and that's something that they need to work through. And to not, project it onto yourself and struggle with it yourself, and just understand that comments are comments.
Yeah. One of my favorite things I heard, and I see a lot more now, but was, someone's opinion of me isn't any of my business. And I was like, hell, that's a really great way to look at it. Like, why concern yourself with things you can't control? And if that's their opinion, that's cool. They got stuff to do. That's fine. Let them unload their package when they're ready to do that. Their baggage and
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff. Like, let them do that when they're ready. But It has been awesome to talk to you. I know you're a super busy woman, so I appreciate you coming on here and chatting
Thank you
with
for
me for a
having
little bit.
me.
Of course, and you have inspiring stuff. You're doing amazing things. So please share really quick where people can find you and what's next for you. And if they want to
Uh,
follow you, whatever, just let us know here.
so you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, um, TikTok, Snapchat. I think it's all Jim Bay K. Across the board, just Jim underscore Bay underscore K.
Yeah.
So super simple, easy to find. If not, just Google my name and it'll all have the same profile picture. What's next for me? I'm going to DC later this month. I'm going to be laying a wreath at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier on the 23rd at 3:15 p.m. And then the next day I'll be in the Reverent Warriors Hike DC. And this is my first time to DC with the Reverent Warriors, so I'm very excited and I'm ecstatic to be bringing McCormick Research Institute along with me. My boss Eric's going to be there as well, and he's a combat veteran, so I'm very excited about this partnership and what's going to come of this. But right now, I don't know if there's going to be any reality TV shows in the works for a while. I'm just doing me, and I came home with the mentality that I'm going to continue doing what I did before I left, which is serve the veteran
Mm-hmm.
community and enjoy my time in the gym because that's my time. So
Mm-hmm.
we're just going to do this prep and we're going to see what happens next.
I love it. And you're going to do amazing. And I can't wait to follow all the journeys that you're on. And hopefully we can connect again in Florida or anywhere, really. I'm up for wherever. But yes, thank
Well,
you
thank you
again.
for having me on, Alyssa.
Thank you, Kylie. It's been awesome. So, everyone else, thank you for listening. This has been Risk Valor.